Hello, colleagues, and welcome. As clinicians, we've all been there, right? Staring at a really challenging radiograph, that moment of truth, and wondering what's next.
So, you get a radiograph that looks something like this. And let's be honest, your heart might sink a little. Cases with this much calcification, this kind of crazy curvature, well, they bring a ton of risk to the table. We're talking about transportation, perforation, maybe even a fractured instrument. All things that can seriously jeopardize our treatment outcomes.
And here's the thing to remember. A procedural error, like a ledge or a zip, doesn't automatically mean the case will fail. But what it does do is cripple our ability to actually clean out the infection. So the bottom line is, keeping that original canal anatomy isn't just some technical exercise. It's everything. It's about biology. Okay, so with that in mind, let's dive in. We're going to walk through a systematic approach that's all about building confidence and making these tough cases predictable, right from the very start.
All right, Act 1, Mastering Coronal Access. I'm a firm believer that success in these crazy cases is often decided before a single file even goes near the canal. It really all starts with knowing the anatomy of that pulp chamber floor inside and out.
Krasner and Rankow, they gave us an absolute gift with these laws. Think of them as your roadmap. They're not just abstract anatomical facts you memorized in dental school. They're super reliable guides that you can use right at the chair. Seriously, even in the most calcified, confusing cases, these laws will help you find your way.
Okay, let's talk tools. Because having the right stuff for the job is, frankly, non-negotiable. You absolutely need good magnification and light. But I want to call out ultrasonic tips specifically. They are a total game changer. They let us gently and precisely chip away at calcifications and uncover those hidden orifices without chewing up the pulpal floor.
So, our access is perfect. Now we're moving on to what I think is the most critical, most skill-dependent part of this whole dance. Securing that manual glide path.
And this quote from Bergman's just says it all, doesn't it? No engine-driven instrument should be used where a hand instrument has not been placed before. It's the golden rule. Think of it this way. The glide path is like paving the road before you drive a race car down it. It reduces so much stress on our rotary files, and that dramatically lowers the risk of one of them breaking.
So how do we actually do this? Well, it's really an art form. A tactile process. First, you've got to pre-curve your file, your little number 8 or 10K file, to match what you see on the X-ray. Then, you just gently explore, a little watch-winding motion. The goal is not to force anything. You're letting the file find the path. Once it snags that curve, that's when you bring in the envelope of motion. This is the key. You rotate it clockwise, creating a little bit of space right at the tightest part of the curve. It smooths the path and makes that curve just a little bit gentler for the next file in line.
Okay, but what about this scenario? We've all been there, right? You're negotiating, feeling good, and then, bam, it just stops, hits a wall. And the temptation is to push. But wait, the absolute key here is to figure out why it's blocked. If you don't, you're on the fast track to creating a ledge.
So let's troubleshoot this systematically. It could be a few things. Maybe the curve on your file is wrong. Easy fix, just recurve it. Maybe the canal is just super tight and you need to drop down to a number 8 or even a number 6 file. Or maybe it's debris. But here's the one I see most often. Coronal restriction. It's not that the tip is blocked, it's that the shaft of your file is binding up higher in the canal. So the first move is often to open up that coronal third a bit more. This little checklist can save you a world of frustration and, more importantly, prevent a lot of errors.
All right, the manual glide path is secure, the road is paved. Now we can safely bring in the engine-driven instruments. And listen, the metallurgy we have today is incredible. These files are unbelievably flexible, but it's not just the file, it's the technique that's going to keep you safe.
Let's talk about why these new files are so different. Your conventional NiTi file, it has shape memory. It wants to be straight, so when you put it in a curved canal, it's constantly trying to straighten itself out, which can lead to transportation. But these newer heat-treated alloys, they have what's called controlled memory. You can pre-curve them, and they'll hold that shape. They don't have that restoring force, which is an absolute game changer for these complex canals. They just follow the path you made.
Now for the really gnarly curves, there's a special technique that I love called tactile controlled activation, or TCA. The whole philosophy here is to maximize safety by minimizing how long the file is actually rotating and under stress inside the canal. Basically, we separate the act of inserting the file from the act of turning it on.
Here's how it works in 3 simple phases. First, you take your heat-treated file and passively, with the motor off, you slide it down that glide path until you feel it engage in the curve. That's the stationary phase.
Second, the in-stroke. You hit the button to activate the motor and advance it just a tiny bit, maybe a millimeter, until you feel resistance. Third, and this is the magic part, the outstroke. You immediately withdraw the file while it's still rotating. That's it. The file's only really working for a split second, on the way out. This one controlled stroke shaves away just enough dentin that the next time you go in, the file will slide in just a little bit deeper. It's incredibly safe and effective.
Okay, so let's bring this all together. Let's boil it all down into a few core principles that you can take with you and apply to your very next tough case.
So here's the strategy. 1. Anatomy is king. Use your magnification, use Krasner and Rankau's laws, and get a perfect access. 2. Secure that glide path. Never, ever skip it. It's the foundation for everything. 3. Respect the curve. Use those super flexible, heat-treated files and a controlled technique, like TCA. 4. Irrigate, irrigate, irrigate. Keep things clean to avoid blockage. And finally, 5. Know your limits. Our goal is safe, predictable cleaning and shaping, not aggressively changing the tooth's anatomy. You know, if you follow the strategy from start to finish, it really does transform a super stressful procedure into something predictable and even enjoyable. It's all about combining what you know about anatomy, your own tactile skill, and using today's amazing technology in a smart way.
And this really brings us to the final thought. Mastering these manual and mechanical skills today isn't just about getting through the next difficult case. It's about preparing us for what's next, like guided endodontics. The tactile feedback, the understanding of anatomy, the finesse. These are the very skills that are going to let us take full advantage of future innovations like 3D printed surgical guides. So everything we master today helps us manage complexity with even more precision tomorrow.